for our final panel of the day, and this is our Going Pro panel. And we collected some of my favorite people that we're going to talk about. So, how did you know? So what we're going to do, if you haven't been to any of the panels yet, we're going to go down the line, starting with closest, and we'll go down that way, and everyone can have an introduction. So some people have some slides or maybe a channel trailer that they'd like to share with you, and then we will have a couple of general questions, and then we will open up the rest of the time for questions that you have for the panel. So that's how it's going to work, and we're going to start down here at the end.
I'm Billy the Fridge. I do music here in Seattle. I've been part of the Seattle rap scene for like 15 years, 16 years, 20 years. I don't know. I'm a lot older than I look. That's beneficial for YouTube. If you can keep a clean-shaven face and dye your hair, you look younger. That's important, right? And I do comedy, and my channel is youtube.com/overweight. I've been collaborating with YouTubers very regularly for the last few years, but before that I was doing music videos and stuff, and they would see success on Reddit and other platforms. I'm just here to share my experience as well as learn from everybody else here.
Howdy, I'm Nick Richards. I do a little channel called The Renegade Show. I've been living aboard a sailboat for a couple of years now, learning to sail all over the Sound. We're actually getting ready to take off across the Pacific. I'm going to go as far south as like Costa Rica, Panama, and then probably down the coast of Chile. Then we're going to Hawaii, going to go to the Philippines, Thailand, Japan, Russia. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun, and having a really big adventure there, putting the whole thing on YouTube.
Sounds great. My name is Len Davis. I joined YouTube in 2006. Now I've got about 700 videos and kind of approaching 20 million views. Just really had a wild ride enjoying this platform. It's nice to be able to participate here. My channel is a real variety of stuff. There's a lot of spontaneous interviews with strangers that I like doing, but there's a lot of politics and animals being born and people who I'm impressed by or inspired by sharing their stories or their ideas about the world. And it's interesting to me to hear all this niche it, niche it, niche it. And I'm thinking, no, it's all variety in here. Just how that doesn't jive with my channel. So I'm trying to think about that here today. Happy to be here.
I'm not a YouTuber. I'm an entrepreneur, and I started in 1996 on YouTube before the Google acquisition. I also sat on the advisory board for Ustream, if you remember live video streaming back in the day. Now it's commonplace, you can do it on your phone. But I say I'm an entrepreneur because I've been creating content for that long, professionally, independently. And so I like creators. More importantly, I like enabling creators, and that's where I am in my career, so don't look at my YouTube channel because you will be disappointed. I've been spending a greater part of my time assembling a team to actually develop a platform, a series of tools that I need, and I know other creators need, because not only as a CEO, I'm going to drive that, but as a customer who needs the product that we are developing. So I can't show anything today, but I can't wait until I can show everybody, because you're going to need it just like I need it.
Hi, I'm Belinda Zoller, and I'm here today with two of my coworkers who work on the YouTube channel Extra Credits. You want to just introduce yourself really quick?
I'm Nick DeWitt. I'm one of the artists. I primarily work on extra history. I've done a couple for extra credits, but I primarily work on the world history aspect of our channel.
Hey, I'm Arthur. I do community management for Extra Credits, so I'm the one who gets to read all the wonderful comments underneath every YouTube video. Now.
Yeah, just wanted to say the Extra Credits channel on YouTube is an educational channel. We make illustrated cartoon videos about game design, world history, politics, science fiction, mythology, and so forth.
We're going to pass it down to Nick.
Okay.
And you're going to go first. The fickle finger of fate has chosen you.
All right.
For slide presentation.
So
I'm going to borrow this. Thank you.
I'm going
to tell me when you want me to.
Alrighty, I'm going to actually turn a little bit so I can see this, because I kind of did key the slides to what I was saying, though. Okay, well, I guess I'll let you push the button. I'm just going to stand here and talk. So next, we'll just just do the first slide here. I'm Nick Richards, you guys just heard. I do the Renegade Show, or a big sailing thing. And this is me. This is my first boat. And as you can probably tell from that Macho Man Randy Savage cowboy hat I'm wearing there, that it was the 1980s. And so I've been into, that's actually the slide I was just telling you. Go ahead, next slide. And you can see that I grew up loving boats. I mean, I'm there, hey ladies, how you doing? I was into it way back then. This is a boat my grandpa built in 1962. And this is my grandpa here. He was a really important guy to me. He's the one who taught me how to get out on the water and taught me a lot about life, got me interested in ham radio, got me interested in electronics and things like that. So really big positive influence on my life. Well, before he was grandpa, he was Sergeant Donald F. LeDuc, United States Army Air Force. And the 23rd of October 1944, he went out the back door of a C-3 with a radio strapped to his chest, landed in Leyte Gulf, swam to shore, and started killing Japanese. And that's how things went there. I never got to hear any of the stories about it. He never would talk about it, but he did tell me just a little bit about it. And I found out 10 years after he died that I was the only person he'd ever said anything to about it, ever. So that was kind of a big responsibility for me. So that brings me to what is ultimately the final destination for my channel. We're going to go to the Philippines, see some of the places that he saw. He told me how much he loved the Filipino people, how great it was being over there, and shortly before he died, he told me he wanted to see it again. So that's kind of what I'm doing. He died of cancer back in 1996, so he never got to do that. So we're kind of living that dream a little bit for him, and I'm going to have a lot of fun along the way. So about me, I served in the Navy 99 to 2003, got to be active duty for 9/11. That was a real party. I got hurt stateside. I was in a really bad accident, titanium plate, 32 screws in my face, broken back, pair of blown out knees. So that was a lot of fun. So I got out of the Navy, came home, and oh my God, that did not go well. That is apparently the internet's now with us today, but that's me with my old semi there, the Red Express. I traveled all over the country, did about 1.5 million miles. 48 states, 3 Canadian provinces, and Mexico, and got to haul some pretty big things. This is actually a really great picture of a semi in a sunset with a giant piece of drilling equipment on there, weighing about 147,000 pounds. I'm sure you guys are in awe of the photo quality here. But I did this all with my best buddy, that's Dexter, on the passenger seat of the semi, which was actually very dangerous because other people would see the dog sitting there and they would turn their trucks towards me and I'd have to honk the horn at them. So like we said, this is my beautiful pixelated sailboat here. Why this has happened, I'm not sure, but you guys get the idea. We go out, we go sailing, we have a lot of fun. Hey, finally a good picture of said sailboat. I've been living on this for about 2 years now. This is down by Tacoma. This was actually during an event we did, Sailing for Veterans this summer, kind of a helping suicide prevention thing. We got a bunch of guys that were struggling a little bit, got them out on the water, and totally gave them something to smile about. And afterwards, wives and girlfriends were, you know, hey, this is so great. He hasn't smiled like this in years. And so that was a really positive thing for us. That was really cool. So, and we did get to go out and have a lot of fun this summer. This is over 4th of July weekend. Got a bunch of us wrapped it up. Had a really good time. By the way, Grandma, if you're watching the replay of this, no alcohol was consumed there whatsoever. There was none. But living out on the water, oh hey, a very pixelated picture of a sunset and a rainbow, but it's very cool being out here. So the question I want to start with on this is, are you in the video business? How many people in here think that you are in the video business? If you're doing a YouTube channel, show of hands, please. No, you're not in the video business. You are in the marketing business. What do I mean by this? I mean that producing video, your product may be video that you're producing, but your business is marketing. You are marketing what you are doing to other people. And the traditional way to make money on YouTube, what's the traditional way to make money? It is AdSense. And this is actually a really hilarious photo of Beauty and the Beast relabeled Stockholm Syndrome. Unfortunately, it's not showing for us, but it's kind of the mindset. I thought it was funny because the way people have stuck around trying to make money on YouTube thinking, oh, I just lost my monetization for my whole month. I made $2. And I'm like, well, you didn't really lose anything, but it hurts to get the channel demonetized there. That's just the way things are going. So you can no longer make a living on via AdSense. That's just not happening. It's not realistic anymore. That ship has sailed. It sailed a couple of years ago. There's just too much competition for views. I think they said there's something like, what was it, 300 channels being created every day or every minute. I don't remember, but like 24 hours of footage uploaded every minute to YouTube. So there's a lot of competition in the space. And so everyone out there that I have found that is getting stingy, and they're trying to grow for free. They're trying to go without putting anything back into it. We're going to talk about that more in a minute. So you want to get paid, by the way, this is Dexter in the sailboat. He has a horrible life if you couldn't tell. So So how do you accomplish this? That's Dexter wearing a necktie, by the way. I mean, it was a really great photo. Apparently it's not working well with us today. So you can create videos about things that you're knowledgeable and passionate about when you're building your channel. It needs to be something that you can either A, learn about or know a lot about. It may be following your journey into something, but you need to be passionate about what the content is. If there's no passion, there's no product. People despise you for being fake. This is why I don't make gardening videos. It would be horrible. Consistency is key. You need to keep uploading that content because that's the only way you're going to get better. Upload, upload, upload. Keep hitting the button, keep putting content out there. You're going to learn what works. If you don't try, you can't failure. And failure is important because you're going to learn more from failure than you are from success. Get good audio equipment. Please repeat after me. I will not upload video with bad audio. Let's hear it.
I will not upload video with bad audio.
Thank you. You can take the best 8K video in the world that has horrible audio and people will be gone like that. But if it has relatively good audio and the video is horrible, people will stick around because about 75 to 90% of their experience is audio. So pay attention to the audio side of the channel. This is something I did wrong for many years on my channel. Once I figured this out, I went from growing at about 50 to 60 subscribers a month to about 400 to 500 when I was still doing my previous channel. As your audience grows, you have the ability to sell to that audience. When you think about it, around 1,500 subscribers, you now have the population of a small town. You have a captive audience of people that are coming back for your videos. So if you're routinely getting 1,500 views on your videos, you now have a mechanism to sell to those people. So you are absolutely in the marketing business. So methods of selling. By the way, this is supposed to be a photo of me really looking very captain-y at the steering wheel of the boat, and you can see through the pixelation maybe that's what's happening. Anyways, affiliate marketing. The problem with doing affiliate marketing or doing sponsored products is that's interruption type marketing. That makes people mad when you step on their toes and you throw something up in the middle of the video. Hey, I'm going to talk for 3 minutes about something that someone paid me to say. It'll make people tune out. And so that you can make money doing that, but if you overuse it, it makes your audience really mad and they'll start leaving for greener pastures for people that don't do that. Now, Patreon is the next method there is, and they get, I was just told it's actually more like 20% now, but they were getting 10% of your earnings when I walked away from the platform. I said, that's too much money for me, because if I make $1,000, I don't want to write Patreon or have them automatically take that $100 from me. So that didn't work for me. And so what I've realized instead, next slide, is that by building my own site, I only have to pay my credit card processor 3%. So if I make $1,000, they get $30. I like that much better than a $100 bill. So once you have your own website, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to sell digital products, how-to guides, software, spreadsheets, photo and video content. You can produce exclusive content that people will pay you for. People are looking for premium experiences. There's a lot of free stuff going out on YouTube every day. When you have something that is good, that is premium, you can demand a premium for it. And then you can also sell physical products. Do you have products that you make? There are several DIY channels that do this. They actually produce the products. They show how to make in the videos. If people don't want to make it themselves, they can just buy it from the channel for things that you can resell. Like, let's say you have a garage, full of stuff you brought home from garage sales over the years, or whatever else it is that you got. You can sell that stuff through your portal there, or you can also do drop shipping. And I love drop shipping, especially things like direct print T-shirts. Those are really cool because you never have to see the product. You reach out to a company and you say, hey, I love your product. I believe in your product. I want to sell your product on my website. And they're going to set up a deal with you, special pricing for you, so you can mark up the price they're going to give to you. There's room for a profit built in. You show that stuff on your channel, and boom, you can sell that stuff out the door. And so businesses exist to make money. I know a lot of people think, oh, I couldn't get that company to do that for me. No, they want to sell product. That's why they exist. That's their total reason for existence. So if you show them that you have a reasonably good platform to sell their product on, they're going to say, yes, it's just like having a storefront in a small town. You're just doing this on the World Wide Web. So what do you need in order to make this happen for yourself? Well, this is my website that is not online yet. I'm getting close to finishing this. Something I probably should have mentioned is all that time I was out on the road in the semi, I taught myself software engineering laying in the back of the semi at night reading coding manuals. It was quite a feat to pull off, running like 11, 12 hours a day in the truck and then sitting up 2-3 hours at a time in the night learning how to read software or how to write software. But this is kind of the end result here. This is the website for the Renegade show we're putting together. And it's got places for my videos on here under sailing adventures. And then there's also a ham radio section that's fixing to go in here. And then You notice down at the end there, we have the store. Well, there's two ways that I'm going to make money from this site. All my content is already rolled back about 6 months when it goes onto YouTube. And so when people come onto my videos, they're going to find out at the end of those videos that, hey, there's more videos online, 2 months worth. You pay me $5 a month, I will show you that content 2 months early. And so when you're asking, and then I have the store on there, which is self-explanatory. So the question is, how do you grow your audience? And so what you're going to need to grow that audience is actually AdSense will work for you. When you think about it, using advertising on YouTube is cheap. All of us that have been on the receiving end of AdSense have been really upset about it. But everyone who's advertising on AdSense is paying between $2 and $6 per 1,000 views of your advertisement. You want to get directly around YouTube's algorithm? Pay them. They're open to bribery. And that's exactly what you need to do. You can buy advertising in your niche by keyword. You can do a looks-like audience if you're collecting people's email lists. And you can also use retargeting. So you can find people who previously viewed your videos, and you can pay YouTube for a second chance to get that person to subscribe. You can say, hey, everyone who watched this video, I want to give them an advertisement that will bring them to this video here. So that's your second chance to get that person that watched your video to come back to your channel. And yes, you do have to pay them for it, but the costs are not exorbitant. You don't have to have a Madison Avenue marketing budget for this. And so final thoughts on that is, yeah, that's a decent pixelated picture. There we go. This is over here in Polsbo. Over the summer, I took this photo standing on the bow of my boat. Anyways, the final thought on that is being in YouTube, if you want to make money today, you're going to have to be creative. You're going to have to be in the marketing business. You can't just slap something up online and hope that it's going to stick. So, and then I guess we'll do questions after everyone else is done.
Putting a timer so I have some sense of what's up.
Sorry if I ran a little long there, but
they're just A, B, C, D. There's only 5 slides.
Are they in a particular order?
Go back. That's B.
I'm sorry.
They're in the right order. Just start at the top one.
Okay.
Thanks. Just trying to have a sense of what 5 minutes looks like. Sorry about that. Great. So my journey as a filmmaker begins in 1999, and I bought my first video camera before traveling around the United States at the turn of the millennium using Y2K as a vehicle to talk to people about their own ideas about where America was at the turn of the millennium. I kept making these videos in my travels and things that interested me long before social media or YouTube existed, and then YouTube comes along, and in 2006 I started posting my first videos and created a channel. In 2007, one of these random videos that I made called Ladybug Sex on My Hand, which was actually of 2 ladybugs having sex on my hand, got featured on the front page of YouTube, and for a moment was the #1 most watched video in the world, back when categories. So I put this video, you can see at the bottom, #1 most viewed video in all these different categories, you know, channel, top rated, all this kind of stuff. And it's just interesting to look back at what YouTube looked like 12 years ago. These are screen grabs that I'm so glad that I took at the time because I would never have access to them. So that's one lesson that just comes to mind right now, is take screen grabs of things that were meaningful to you, because later on you may use them in ways that you had no idea at the time. Next one. This is another video. I mean, the second video right there, Nursing Monkey in My Lab Looks for Answers, that was the most viewed all-time video in travel and places at the time, and that was mine. Where the hell is Matt? He's another Seattle guy. Next video, or next slide. When that went to the top, you know, in the bottom left corner you see he's a YouTube star, thanks. All this local media picked up that story because they were interested in this guy who at the time was doing interviews with elders, and yet I'm getting famous on YouTube for a bug sex video. So that was kind of funny in the thing, so I included that. Next one. This is what the top videos on my channel all time. I just took this screen grab last night. But this is, I have, you know, a variety. Basically, I've been making content that's all about just my own journey and things that piqued my interest, and making videos about them and posting them to YouTube. So it's kind of, for me, a disconnect between hearing all these panels and having it be so driven by how to make money or how to monetize your channel or how to design your content or SEO, because my MO had never been about monetizing. It just sort of fell into my lap as an early adopter of AdSense when I got invited to participate because I had an audience. And so now I'm coming more around to, oh, how could I make more money through revenue off of my channel that exists? So this is, I mean, this is just a snapshot of the kinds of things that I'm making videos of. There are a lot of interviews with people that just pique my interest, or in my travels have led me to want to know more about something and then turning around and creating a video about it. And you can just leave that up. I think one of the skills that I developed over time had to do with knowing I didn't want to do a lot of post-production in my videos. I just wanted to create something and put it out there. And so I got better at telling stories with the beginning and the end in a way that I knew I could just turn around and post it without having to do a lot to it afterward. And I think that really benefited me in the long run. And I realized also, as I started making money separate from YouTube, but making more of a profession of being a filmmaker, my interest in spontaneously creating and putting things to YouTube decreased. And that was kind of unfortunate, but that was a reality, that the more I did it for work, the less I wanted to be spending time on a computer doing it for fun. I think what I really enjoy, one of the things I really enjoy is using my videos and my skills to connect people around the world, and to use these videos when something piques my interest to then turn it into a video, both in the content itself as well as the description of how can other people who want to connect with that person find them, whether it's to, you know, buy their artwork or their products or their services, or learn more about that specific way they did the thing they did as an artist, or whatever it may be. And I just have endless ways in which that has been rewarding for me coming back, where I had no idea where it was going to go or how it was going to benefit the people at the time, but that's one of the ways I've really enjoyed using YouTube. And I find it conflicting or challenging for me in terms of this whole idea of how you title and how you choose a thumbnail, because often part of me is saying, I know I'll get more views if I sex up the title, if I use some adjective that says amazing or incredible or something that is going to draw more viewers. But at the same time, I'm not really saying this video is amazing or incredible, you have to watch it. It's more, hey, this might interest you. And so I find that kind of challenging for me to hard sell, you know, are you marketing or are you a creator, a creative person? I mean, I think there's so much negativity in the comments that I'll just focus on the positivity, and I've had a lot of really special experiences in which things I never saw coming happened. You know, and just a couple quick examples include, I had filmed these two guys playing guitar and singing on the streets of Chicago. That's my alarm saying, stop talking, 5 minutes.
Finish your story.
Yeah.
10 years later, in the comment thread, a young woman comes up and says, that's my dad in your video who died 8 years ago. We had no idea that this video existed, and a cousin of mine found this video. And thank you so much. You know, no video exists of my dad, and to see him doing what he loved is so powerful. So I just have found enormous joy in making those connections and using my YouTube channel as a way to make the world a smaller place and celebrate humanity. So, nice to be here. Oh, the last thing I want to say is, I've decided to take this 20 years worth of film and content and turn it into a documentary, and I'm working on that now. And so I'm looking for all these ways and these tools, and being here today to think about how do I take the experience now that I'm working on the film to really promote the film, as well as use the existing content to find new ways in which it can be meaningful. So I'm happy to be here today. Thanks.
Let me know when you want me to play it.
Me? Oh, you don't have to play the video. It's okay.
No, you sent it.
Oh.
You gotta watch it.
Not really, but okay.
Overridden.
Wait, is Michael here? Michael? Michael filmed this. Don't blame him for the audio quality. That's me. And I hear you. Audio's important.
I've seen far too many people compare themselves to others, thinking that the only way they can be successful is by matching somebody else's success. But the problem with thinking that way is that success is relative. You may look at something that you've accomplished and believe that it pales by comparison to what somebody else has done. If you did the best that you could do with the resources at your disposal, and it worked, you succeeded. pressure to try to emulate their path to their own success. But doing that is going to end up in failure, because you aren't them. You are you. People may tell you that you've failed. You may feel like a failure, but that doesn't mean that you haven't been successful. And not just successful at being a failure, you may have accomplished something.
Hey, you can hit stop. That was really life coaching, which I am not. No, applause goes to Michael on that one. Michael reached out to me. He just emailed me, and I think it was 5 minutes later. I said, "Yeah, check it out." He's I would say how would I frame you, Michael? And I realize this is probably awkward, and you weren't expecting this, nor was I. But he just reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to collab?" I'm like, "Sure." I had no idea how he found me, but he wanted to talk to other local Seattle people that do video. And I always like sitting down with fellow creators, and I think that kind of shocked you that I replied and said, "Yeah, let's sit down." So we got together, and in about a half hour, I said, "You know what I've always kind of thought about doing is kind of an inspirational series, something, because I'm like you." I get the video equipment, but I don't want to do post-production. And I yield to I would say, professionals or enthusiasts who love this kind of stuff. And Michael likes taking landscapes and nature and stuff. Oh, this is a great juxtaposition between the things I want to talk about and providing visuals so that my message would carry weight. So this is actually a recent collab, a video that unlike anything that I had done before, but largely because of Michael, who's also interested in collaborating with fellow Seattle YouTubers. Now, I think this is also relevant because this is what I like to do. I like making connections. This is kind of what got me started back in the mid-90s when all photos were pixelated, back when you had to download GIFs, and yes, they're GIFs, from the Usenet newsgroups. You decode them and then use a local executable on DOS to be able to view them, only to find out that they were corrupt. I can go down. You can go up to the 3rd floor, and that's how I grew up with technology. So I've always looked at the internet as a powerful medium to connect others. I graduated with a degree in English education, never actually walked inside the classroom, ultimately kind of fell into being an entrepreneur. And I think that's very, very important because to underscore the message, was it Greg? Nick, sorry, I apologize. I'm not much for being on the water.
We'll throw a tantrum later.
Thank you. I'm not a YouTuber. Until I worked for Google, which could happen at some point, I'm not a YouTuber. I wasn't a YouTuber when I started because YouTube didn't exist. Social media didn't exist. But I still recognize the power of the internet to connect and make connections for people. I've always been fascinated with software and technology for how it can be transformative, helping people tell stories. Not necessarily think about how they're going to make money with telling stories, but to at least get their message across. So I was recording video, postage stamp size, like, what was it, 120 by 320, smaller than that. You used floppy disks in a digital camera, and you could record video and upload it to the internet, and people had to... I went viral before YouTube, long before YouTube, from a TV show that I used to host back in the early, 2001 or so. That's my claim to fame. And I've been shuffling around ever since. So nothing that I've heard to this point is wrong or necessarily mutually exclusive, and I think it's probably going to continue throughout the panel. And that's great, because everybody's right. I've yet to hear anybody be wrong, even if they happen to conflict. And ultimately, you decide for yourself, well, what's going to work and what's going to work right now. What worked for me 2 years ago doesn't work for me anymore, whether it's on a personal level or a business level. And that's difficult sometimes when you've established yourself, let's say, on a social platform like YouTube, which is probably going to be around for a while, but I'm old enough to remember a lot of social platforms that we thought were going to be around for a while and ultimately died. It's if you have one takeaway, it's that you exist and your community may follow you to your own website, your own domain. They may continue to follow you off platform, you know, if you were to distribute your content elsewhere. You're not the platform. You are you, and whatever you want to do is what you should be doing. Period. Don't let anybody, myself included, tell you what to do. There are great guidelines, and there are different ways of doing what you'd like to do. You know, I could sit here and disagree with some of the things that I've heard at this event, and I could at length. I'm not going to. But these are fascinating conversations to have, and I think this is one of the reasons why I appreciated when Michael reached out to me, because I hadn't done a video for, really honestly, for about a year or so. And I've got like 6,000 videos in my channel. That's crazy. So it's like, what are you, 700? Man, I wish. So I just stopped doing video altogether because it wasn't something that was interesting to me anymore. As I kind of introduced myself, I'm at that point now where the advice that I give does other people better than the advice that I'm able to give myself. And that always seems to be the truth. So yeah, I guess you could take that to the bank. I've seen a lot happen, and ultimately, I think Nick is correct. You have to be a marketer, but have a creator's heart, and that's the challenge, because there are no tools that effectively exist that allow you to do the thing that you want to do, and that is create. I assume that's the case with everybody sitting in the room. This kind of dovetails to what I was saying in the beginning. I'm less interested in doing videos, though this was a fantastic example of a video that I would like to do, and thankfully can now that I've found someone who can help enable the process, at least with production. But at that point where I'm ready to turn my 22 years of entrepreneurial content experience into a platform that other people can use, including myself, as someone who understands the pain points of not understanding marketing because I know it works, but also knowing that 90% of the creators who just want to create may not understand it, and may be at a point where, hey, I know I can make money with this and pay the bills and quit my day job. How do I do that? How do I maintain that? How do I grow it? How do I scale it? How do I fix the problems that I can't fix myself? And one of my biggest challenges I've had in using software, going back decades, is that a lot of it's not necessarily developed for my type of entrepreneur. That is a creator, an independent creator, someone who posts content online. And so most of those tools are developed for marketers, which is a challenge, because I think the bulk of the people in the room are not marketers. We deal with marketers, and marketing is very, very important. In fact, it's critical. To crack that nut is a challenge and a half, but that's the onus, I guess, now is on me. I don't have anything I can show anybody today. We have developed an MVP to be able to go after angel investors, and it's from showing a few people exactly what I thought needed to happen for creators first and foremost. And the hope is, again, to build a series of several tool sets to help anybody who wants to do YouTube, Twitch, wherever, your own website, etc., but specifically taking my years of experience in helping you. I'm more interested in helping you than I am myself.
Hi, so again, up there on the screen you can see the entire current creative team who works on Extra Credits. And the three of us over there that says us are the three people sitting at this table, Belinda, Nick, and Arthur. Just to start off, so Extra Credits started off in 2010, just making videos about game design in the game industry. It was made by a couple of folks who worked in games and the game industry and wanted to make educational videos in like a silly voices and cartoon format. And at the time there just wasn't a lot of things like this if you wanted to learn about game design, and so the videos kind of found their niche. We actually started off on a couple of the video sites outside of YouTube, like The Escapist and like PAX TV and whatnot. And now YouTube is the site you go to for your videos. Once we moved to YouTube, which was in 2013, sorry, just to recap. So the show started off as like 3 people making these videos, and then in 2013, we started hiring more people and growing the show so that we could explore making videos about our other interests in education, like science fiction, mythology, politics, and whatnot. And that's why the team grew over time, was because we started making more content based on the original values of the game design things that we made. Something that we've always been really passionate about from the beginning is fighting online toxicity. That is one of the core values that is one of the core values of Extra Credits that guides the way that we make our content and how we interact with each other. And this especially became relevant because once we got to YouTube, there's the phrase YouTube comments, and in that phrase is a world of like hate and bitterness and jadedness that we're all very familiar with here in this room. No, don't like read the comments, like we always tell each other that. But one of the great things about our channel is that we've really prided ourselves on having a positive and healthy comment section on YouTube, and there's a couple of ways we've achieved that and why we think it's really important to pay attention to your YouTube comments. So number one is we always pay attention to the tone and content that we use in our videos. Back when we were just making videos about game design, we took an inherently positive outlook on the world, and at the time, it's definitely changed nowadays, but at the time we started, we were one of the few channels on YouTube that was focused on gaming and was explicitly very helpful and positive and educational instead of being all ranting and pessimistic. And as we've seen in the last 4 years, there's a lot of gaming YouTube that has unfortunately contributed to the degradation of internet discourse, and which has affected the real world as well, like Gamergate and whatnot. And so we really focused on trying to kind of look at things in the industry differently, and so having a positive outlook in your videos makes a huge difference if that's the kind of audience that you want to attract. Number two, we also actually have a code of conduct that we use on our website, and we're public about it, and that's what we use to moderate YouTube comments, and we take that extremely seriously. Arthur, do you want to talk a little more about that?
Sure, I can talk about that.
Yeah, so as a community manager, I'm the one who goes through the community comments, and I use that code of conduct to go through all the comments and determine whether people's comments are constructive and good for the discourse, or like weeding a garden if there's just the general bile that is put out onto the internet, like racism or all the bigotry, homophobia, all that good stuff. That just goes into the bin, nobody else has to see it, and racists don't get a microphone. I don't want to give them one. So we use our community standards to go through that. We also use YouTube's filters to pick out keywords. If people use those keywords, that gets put into a sort of pile for me to go through and decide what gets published and what doesn't. And not only do we take pride in weeding out sort of the garbage from the comments to try and make that a welcoming place for discussion, because we want there to be continued discussions on the topics that we talk about, but also we like to encourage a lot of positivity, and YouTube has that handy heart emote that you can go through on the comments to heart somebody's comment and push it to the top of the comments so people can see that, and we usually use that to emphasize people's positive contributions to discussions. If people, we love it when people, especially in extra history, when people disagree with one of our sources or say, oh, it didn't happen like this, I've always heard this story told this way. We love to heart those things so that the community at large can have discussions on them, talk about sources, start looking for other pieces of information and bring those to the table. Comment chains that are nothing but like a bunch of links to other sources are always my favorite to see. So we try to use that as a way to encourage not only a positive community, but also it gets engagement going. If your community is not afraid to talk to each other, then you have a thriving community that's going to continue to come back to your comments. But we also care about our creators too. And Belinda, I'm going to throw this back to you.
Thanks, Arthur. The number 3 thing that we do is we take self-care breaks for ourselves, because one of the reasons why we have so many people on our team making these videos is because it's literally become impossible for just a couple people to do all the writing, voiceover, animation, art, community, social media, business things. Like, we have to have all these people to help us do this. And so, and that includes looking at the YouTube comments. If you're at all thinking about growing your channel, if you're thinking about getting to the point of hiring somebody to help you, with your channel, like somebody should be looking at those YouTube comments if you want to be focusing on creating a healthier and positive part of YouTube. Nick, can you talk a little bit about the self-care aspect?
Yeah, so I'm one of the artists, and a big part of what I do is make sure things are historically accurate as possible within reason, because videos have to go up, and that puts things on a tight deadline. It's important to give yourself breaks on that note, though. Like, burnout is a very big thing you can experience working on YouTube. It's important to have deadlines and whatever, but ultimately the video's not worth it if your mental health is being sacrificed. So make sure you take care of yourself. Give yourself a day off, go to sleep, go for a walk. Don't look at a computer for 50 hours a week if you can.
Very well said, Nick. We could all learn that a little bit better. Yeah, so our advice is try to spread some more positivity on YouTube with whatever you decide to do, because the world needs more of that right now. So thank you very much.
Here.
Okay, so I know we're running late on time, so I'm just going to ask one real quick question, and then we'll open up for questions from the audience. So most people up here probably are now all full-time YouTube creators, right? Or making a living off of it. And many of the people who are in the audience or moderating this panel are aspiring to one day be in that position. So if you were to give us a little nugget of advice, or like, what is the difference between what you did when you were an amateur versus a pro, or something that's going to get you to that next level? I think we'd love to hear.
One of the big important things is to build your brand, right? Like you're you, that's YouTube. If you want to be a YouTuber, you build yourself, focus on what you contribute to the world. You know, you have all the technology you need on your cell phone to film videos and upload them to YouTube. The technology doesn't matter. You don't have to have the most expensive camera or the best editing software. Focus on yourself, build your face to the public, be the person you want to be, right? You can be the best you. You're in control of the play button and the stop button. So be the best person you can be, share that with the world, and people will see that and they will fall in love with you. It's happened to me, it's happened to all of us here. It's amazing. So just be the best you can be, and people will follow you and love you for it.
I think I'm going to buttress my answer right into the end of that thing. The thing that matters most if you want to do this full time is just pure unbridled passion. You have to have the passion for what you're doing. You have to be willing to stay up till 3, 4 in the morning, learning, watching videos, reading books, taking in information, to become an expert on the subject matter that you're putting on your channel and what you're doing with your channel. If you're not willing to put in that type of a commitment, you're not going to make it here because there's other people are. This is a lot of hard work. For me, when I really think about the work aspect of it, my week right now with everything I'm doing looks at about 100 to 120 hours with everything I'm doing, writing code, building the site out that I'm building, planning for other things, reading about things that I need to know about. And so for me, really, what I've had to do is essentially like going back to college to learn a lot of things all over again. It's just been an endless learning process. And so you have to be really passionate about that intake of knowledge, because like he was talking about earlier, I believe Nick was saying, you know, you get that YouTube burnout. Well, what a lot of that burnout can occur from is when you run out of things to talk about and you feel like you're on a treadmill and you're forced to keep running and you're forced to keep producing. And so if you're not bringing new information into your life, if you're not bringing in new ideas, if you're just focused on producing, you are eventually get to the end of the point of what it is that you have to share, the end of the things that you have to say. And when you run up against that wall, that can be a really hard thing to overcome. And so that's really where knowledge really becomes power, and where that passion is going to drive you. You know, it's an easy thing just to get a job and work your 40 hours a week and go home and then maybe make a couple of videos for fun. But if you want to do this full time, you have to be absolutely and completely dedicated. Like with what I'm doing with the whole sailing project, this is something I would do whether or not I was doing YouTube. If I can only get one person to watch it, there's going to be one person to watch it, because I love doing it that much, and that's why my audience is growing. That's why my experience with this is growing, is because this is the thing that I love more than anything in the world, and that's why it works. If you're not feeling that way about the content you're producing, you're not going to make it. So you have to find out what you really love, and you have to do the things that you're afraid to.
I understand that developing a wider viewership and getting views and people interested and connected to what you're creating is our goal, but I guess One thing I would say is don't be motivated by the commerce, which I hear in different iterations from everybody around me, which is quite nice. Once I was making a video, there was an interview with a software developer guy, and he introduced me to the quote, which goes something along the lines of, don't ask yourself what the world needs, ask yourself what makes you come alive, because what the world needs is more people who have come fully alive. And I think I hear that in various different phrasing from lots of people here, so don't be motivated by the commerce. I understand that it's important and it might sustain your creativity, your ability to do this stuff, but ask yourself what makes you come alive, and maybe use your YouTube channel and creative skills to go out and make that happen.
I apologize for my facial gesticulations. My daughter's back there. She's got a YouTube channel. It's got 10,000 subscribers now. She inherited it from the family, so she's been trying to do this to explain to me but I don't understand what you're saying. But there's the next generation. Y'all are the next generation. Change, really. When I started, I did not have this family, and that caused me to change. And this is where I go back to saying, think like an entrepreneur. It is going to be a long haul, and you are going to be spending a massive amount of time doing things that maybe you don't do as well as somebody else, but it's got to get done. Change is going to happen, and you have to be able and willing to adapt to it when it does happen. All the more reason why I say don't cling to just one platform. It's okay to use, but understand your place in it, because all it takes is this. And that platform's made a decision that you're not in control of. I always thought it was funny they call it YouTube. It's not YouTube, it's there too. FYI. I said the same thing about MySpace. I said, hey, MySpace is there.
My who?
Space. Exactly. So, to my point, right? What works today may not work tomorrow for a lot of reasons well beyond your control. You have to be able to be able, maybe not willing, but able to see where it's going and your place in it. Think like an entrepreneur is the best advice that I could possibly give you, and that's based on having done it for a lifetime.
Going from part-time or doing it as a hobby to doing it full-time, at some point, especially if you have several people helping you, at some point it's not a group of friends, it's a business. It can still be a group of friends, but just be aware of the distinction and take care of your business, take care of your group of friends, but those don't always have to be the exact same thing. And that's more important, again, if you are working on it with a couple of other people.
So I came late to the game with our specific channel, but one thing I think I've noticed for me was I'm an animator, and I will occasionally upload my own work just for the sake of it. The work I do currently, it's not so much a presentation of myself, which is a strange difference for me, but it feels more like I'm creating an ongoing conversation with the comment section more so than I was when I was making my own stuff. So I think that's what an interesting takeaway for me was going from part-time as a hobbyist and moving to full-time was thinking about how what I'm making is a conversation piece for other people.
So I'm super new, so I'm not sure about going from small to big so much, but I do know that I went from not paying attention at all to the YouTube comments to now moderating them. So the biggest thing I have to advise is just remember that everyone is a person on the other side of the screen. No matter what they say or what they're doing on the internet, they have a story, and you have to know and respect that and try and understand where they're coming from. And that's really the only way that you can start to build a positive community, is acknowledging everyone's humanity. Yeah, that's it.
I know we're probably out of time, so we're only going to take one question so we can say that we did it. So if you think you have the best question, raise your hand. Pressure. Oh, yes.
So if 20% of your profits and Patreon go to the website, then why do still people use it and not just make their own
Make their own site?
Yeah, I could say that.
Yeah. All right, simply put, the reason why so many people are willing to give 10-20% of their income to like Patreon is because it's easy, it's simple. They didn't have to build any infrastructure, and that's what Patreon uses to make their money, and that's fine. I'm not saying don't use Patreon. I'm saying if you really want to make, you want to maximize the money that's coming in the door, this is things that you need to think about. For someone who's a startup creator, like let's say you don't have the ability and the means to make a website, I'm not saying, oh, don't use Patreon, absolutely. But the thing is that you have to remember is, does anyone in here know who Naomi Wu is? Creator, does a lot of digital content type of stuff. Anyways, well, the big thing is, you guys probably know Vice magazine. Vice went and did a interview with her. And Vice went to China where she lives, which is a communist country, and so you have to be very careful about what you say in that country and what you do because they have a social credit system, which is really scary. And she had a written agreement with them that they wouldn't touch on certain subject matter, and then after they had come and done the interview, they said, well, we're going to talk about it anyway, so would you care to comment on this? And so it was just a big, breach of journalistic integrity. And she got very upset, and they had a big thing that went back and forth, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing of how it worked out, but Vice was able to get their lawyers to shut down her Patreon that completely cost her every bit of her monthly income. It was just completely gone at the drop of a hat like that. She was no longer able to make money. She had to stop producing videos for a while while she came up with new avenues to raise money. So these are things that you need to be cognizant of, and that's why I say when you're really investing in a platform, if you're investing in Patreon, when you're investing in someone else's infrastructure, understand that it can be gone in an instant. Either the company can go bankrupt, there may be a lawsuit, there may be something like that just comes out of left field that destroys it, that you have absolutely zero control over. And that's why I'm a proponent of building your own website or getting someone to build you that website, which is the route that I've gone about it. Because that is something that you own and you control 100% lock, stock, and barrel. The way I'm building my content, if YouTube went away tomorrow, my videos would still all be there because it's all on my thing. So people that loved what I was doing have the ability to follow me over and find it. So.
Can I just make a quick comment? 2 months ago, I was looking for a YouTube community, and I reached out and did some Googling, and I did find you, Chris. So I just want to say that I can attest to the fact that you are a connector. Thank you for your wealth of knowledge. You did connect me to Benji. And thank you all panelists for being here and sharing your information.
All right, we're going to give a round of applause to all of our panelists.